because we have us a guest on hold.
Yes.
The leading lady of the Sacramento Kings broadcast. You know her. You love her. We love her as well. The one, the only, Kayte Christensen. Kayte, it's Jay and Whitey. How are you?
Hey, Katie.
Oh, is Kayte up? Oh, I hit the wrong button.
No, I think it's
there
me.
She
I think
is.
it's me.
No, it's me. It's me. I make a rookie mistake sitting in the big chair. I lead her in with this great intro that I did all by myself, and then I just fumble it at the end. That's a 1 yard line.
How are you, Katie?
I'm great. How are you guys, fellas?
Good.
We're good. You, I know you with Dave, you're used to about 5 minutes of having him poke fun at your personal life. I was hoping you'd be down just to talk some basketball with us, if that's cool.
Yeah, we could do that for sure.
Well, 25 games left in the season, Kayte, and the West has recalibrated. You see what the Suns have done. You see what Dallas has done. You see what the Clippers have done. The Kings kind of stay pat. I feel like that could be an advantage for them in the final games because they're not trying to introduce a bunch of new guys into the lineup. This team is already gelled. How do you look at the last 25 games playing out for the Kings?
I think it certainly can be an advantage for sure. I mean, when you look at kind of all the moves that the Western Conference made, it had a lot to do with teams that were really not where they were wanting to be at that point, by the trade deadline. And so, a lot of teams really mortgaged their futures, did some big moves, traded some really important pieces to get, a superstar that they were hoping would really make the difference. So they obviously have to work that person in. In Phoenix's case, KD is coming back from an injury. He's been out for a while. So that's one thing. Kyrie alongside Luka, we saw that immediately right after it happened. And, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I really felt like they certainly looked better when it was just Kyrie and not Luka and Kyrie. So I think they've got some things to work out. Sorry, I just got in my car and it's 100% going to take a minute.
It's all good. Are you momming right now?
It's a big momming day. It absolutely is. Yeah, I'm actually on my way to their school. They've got it's Ash Wednesday, so we've got mass this morning. So yeah, so it's a big momming day. And I left my coffee, so I had to actually go to Starbucks and be in line with 50 million people. But I have a really nice coffee ready for me at home when I get home in like 2 hours. So
this is a TV show right here.
Yes.
She's a mom. She's a basketball analyst on TV.
We've been trying to sell her on this whole idea of a reality show for a while now. I don't know if she's into the idea of being followed around by a camera, though.
I don't think anyone really wants to peek into my reality. It is not pretty at all. But no, so I think there's an advantage, obviously, for the Kings in the sense that, they have built and established a chemistry and a style and a philosophy that now they just get to continue to build on. And when you think about the fact that, they've had, about 55, 56 games where they have, had this opportunity to build, they're still building. I mean, that's not a lot of games when you look at it for a completely new roster under a completely new coaching staff. So I expect them to continue to get better. And I'm actually okay with the fact that Monty kind of held pat at the trade deadline because not that I believe they were very active. I believe they were looking. I do think that because of the number of teams that were really willing to give up a lot to get something that they really wanted, I think that the asking prices were too high. And so I'm okay with the front office being like, listen, we have a plan. We're sticking to it. We're not going to give up something that we don't want to give up to get something that could potentially come in and not have the impact that we thought, that could jeopardize our chemistry. So the last 25 games, you guys, should be really interesting. I hope everyone got some good rest because teams are going to be gunning for the Kings.
Kayte, obviously the Kings have surprised a lot of people by getting to this point. They haven't won anything yet, but third in the West. What about the way they've gotten here has surprised you the most?
Well, I don't think anybody expected them to be third, right? And with how crazy the West has been, it's like, okay, injuries, that kind of stuff happens. But for them holding in the third spot for so long, that has kind of really, really surprised me because I think if everyone were being honest, they would say that at the beginning of the season, they were hoping that this team could be a play-in team at the very minimum. And I hoping that, yeah, they could, be that sixth spot in the West and make the playoffs, but probably not expecting it. Well, things have changed slightly. Expectations have certainly shifted. What has surprised me the most about them, quite honestly, is just their ability to score. I mean, and it's not just scoring, right? It's like how they score. Their offense to me is really something fun and beautiful to watch. They move the ball, the cutting. They're one of the fastest paced teams in the half court, which just means they're really, really doing a great job of playing off of each other and facilitating for each other and being unselfish. And, I've been here for a really long time. So I think that's probably what surprises me the most, because I have seen plenty of selfish basketball in the last handful of years.
Kayte Christensen joining us from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Kayte, your broadcast partner Kyle Draper was in here with me yesterday and pointed out a stat to me that I don't want to say floored me, but I was kind of surprised. He said the Kings are 9th this season in fourth quarter defensive rating. And when you watch them, especially, I point to that first Dallas game last week where they really turned it on in the fourth. How do they translate that fourth quarter defense into other aspects of the game? How do we get 2.5 quarters of that defense?
Yeah, so I have to actually give a shout out to the Twitter stats people, because when Dave and I were on the show the other morning, we were talking about the defense. And I said, listen, I know that it's really easy to look at the stats and look at where the Kings are in defensive rating and how much they give up. I said, but you have to watch this team play. And I'm like, in the fourth quarter, this team is a very good defensive team, especially the last 5 minutes. And somebody on Twitter went and did a deep dive into the stats, and they tweeted out that they're actually 9th in defensive rating in the fourth quarter. So the stats actually kind of prove what I have been trying to say for so long, is yes, you actually, if you're watching this team on a consistent basis, they're not as terrible defensively as the overall numbers kind of, the picture that they paint. The question is really difficult to answer, right? Because the problem is the pace that this team plays at, to also be playing defense at the high level for, a large segment of a 48-minute game. That is really, really difficult to do, right? And so I think that, when you look at kind of how things have gone, even De'Aaron Fox to a certain degree, right? I feel like De'Aaron has tried really hard in the beginnings of games to establish his defensive presence and identity and really make sure that other teams are aware of him defensively. But I think that a lot of times what that has done is he hasn't been looking for his offense, because let's be honest, to do what he does on the offensive end and also really be digging in on the defensive end, it's going to wear on you throughout the course of the season. So I think that players kind of preserve themselves a little bit, even if they're not doing it, it's kind of a subconscious thing that they're doing, but usually it's the third and then the fourth quarter where offensively De'Aaron takes over games, right? And then collectively as a unit, the team is better defensively in the fourth quarter. So I don't know what the possibilities are of picking it up. I think that there's a couple things they need to really try to focus on, which is to limit straight line drives, which is putting a ton of pressure on their defense in the paint, and specifically DeMontis, who they already asked to do so much. And before the break, we saw him get into some foul trouble a little bit more reminiscent of what we saw the first 5 or 6 games of the season. So to me, that's a very, very big one. If they can really limit straight line drives, and that's an individual thing in my book, right? That's an individual saying, I'm not going to get blown by. And if they can do that a little bit more consistently, I think that will help overall defensively as games go on.
How about this, Kayte? I know earlier in the year their defensive rebounding percentage was higher than it is now. If they were to rebound defensively better on a more consistent basis, how far would that go towards improving them defensively?
As a team, their rebounding numbers have actually been really solid all year to me. I mean, and I look at it, of course, Whitey, in the sense that, like on my game boards, like I have every ranking for every possible category for this year and what they finished at last year. Mm-hmm. So it's a comparison sake, right? They're a much better defensive rebounding team this year. However, as the season has gone on a little bit, the numbers have kind of gone down a little bit to where they were really holding pat, I would say, through the first, 40 games of the season. But the reality in the NBA is when you have teams that shoot threes at a high volume, and that's that's the type of teams we've really faced since you look back at that 7-game road trip, and you're facing Minnesota twice, and they're putting up 40 plus threes. I mean, when you're facing teams that are putting up a high volume of threes, your defensive rebounding numbers are going to be impacted a little bit more because they're generally longer rebounds, and it's a little bit harder to consistently be able to close out the play with a rebound. You're more susceptible to offensive rebounds. But when you look at their numbers on the season, the Kings have really been one of the best teams in the league at limiting second chance points. I mean, I think they've been in the top 5 literally the entire season, if memory serves. So, there's going to be little segments during the season, guys, where there's going to be a dip in a certain number, and they've just got to kind of correct it and get back on track.
She's a former WNBA legend.
Mm-hmm.
She's a broadcaster. She's momming and talking to us at the same time. Kayte, is there anything you don't do? What are you not good at? That's my question. What are you not good at?
Oh, my goodness. Well, there's lots of things that I'm not good at. There's a lot of things that I don't have time for.
But that doesn't mean you're not good at them.
More of the question.
I've heard you're putting an album out later this year.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a rap album for sure.
Yes.
It's mom rap. It's mom rap.
Mom rap.
It's the ABCs with a twist.
I'm telling you right now, don't get it twisted. That could actually be its own subgenre that would go viral on TikTok. We can make some money here. So I'm going to have my people call your people. We're going to work out this mom rap album. All right.
Awesome.
Oh, you guys have a great rest of the morning.
Oh, you're the best,
Thank you,
Kayte. Thanks so much. Have fun momming.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. That is Kayte Christensen again coming to you from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. We're going to take